We stayed at the Lake of the Clouds hut in the White Mountains, and I had no idea what to expect because I really couldn't find much information online except for the basics on the AMC website. And so in this video, I'm going to tell you everything you want to know, everything you need to know about staying there so you can decide if it's a good fit for you. The first thing to know is that you need to book in advance. In fact, we booked several months in advance, but we still needed to book on weeknights because the weekends were already full. The Lake of the Clouds hut, the Lakes of the Clouds hut, not Lake of the Clouds, and I'm sure I'll say it wrong, but there are 2 lakes in the clouds at the hut. When you're booking, you may want to join the AMC. Having an AMC membership supports all the work that they do on the trails and on the hut systems and all the programs they run, and it also gives you a discount. So how do you get there? Well, other than 2 times a year when supplies are dropped in by helicopter, the only way in or out is by foot. We hiked in by way of the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trail. So we parked at the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trailhead, went up the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trail along the Ammonoosuc River. It was about 3 miles, but a lot of elevation gain. The AMC website estimates that it takes 3 to 4 hours to make that climb. It took us at least that long. That climb is about 2,600 feet. In the beginning, the trail meanders along the stream bed, and it gets steeper and rockier as you get closer and closer to the top. There are gorgeous waterfalls crossing the trail and a couple of stream crossings too. When we arrived at the hut, it was so socked in with fog, we couldn't see it until we were close to 20 feet away, which was an amazing feeling to complete that hike and suddenly have this beautiful, warm and welcoming building appear out of the mist.
Toilets on the left, water's on the right. We've got free hot drinks for overnight guests.
As soon as you arrive, you enter a big open room with tables. That's where the meals are served and where most people hang out. There's a desk right up front where we checked in for the night. This hut can hold about 80 guests, and it does it in a bunch of bunk rooms that have 6, 8, 12, or 15 bunks in one room. Our group was 6 people. And 6 turned out to be perfect because we got one of the 6 bunk rooms all to ourselves. But often you'll be sharing with people you don't know, and these are co-ed bunk rooms, so just be aware of that. Each bunk has its own mattress, 3 wool blankets, and a pillow. It was really fun having our own room. It was like our own little fun slumber party, and it was this safe, snuggly, warm little place to hang out, and you could hear the winds whipping outside and the rains whipping and banging against the windows, but it felt cozy and warm inside. I say it's warm inside. It is not a heated building, so in the required packing list, they include a sleeping bag and a headlamp. Before I finish talking about the Lakes of the Clouds hut, I have a favor to ask of you. Making these videos, it can feel like I'm talking into the void, so if you're getting any value from it, if you would hit like or subscribe, or even better, leave a comment, just so that I know that somebody out there is listening and these are worth something to you. Even though there's not much power and you can only get there by foot, it has a lot of the comforts you need. So there are composting bathrooms, and believe it or not, they didn't smell at all. And they have a couple of water taps to refill your water bottles. There's just enough electricity to have some lights on the ceiling, but there's no place to plug in or recharge phones or anything like that. At 5:30 in the evening, they give what they call a tech talk, and there they talk about just how the hut runs, how they get food and materials and all the things they need into the huts, and how they get everything back out. They have to carry any garbage that's there on their backs physically to get it out of that hut. So it is very much a carry in, carry out location. Do not leave your garbage there. So after the tech talk, dinner was served at 6 o'clock. Dinner was served family style with, I think, 10 or 12 to a table, and all shared entrees. That first night, we were served a really hearty, delicious lentil soup. We had pulled pork, rice, green beans, a home-baked bread, and then a surprise dessert, which was a chocolate chip cookie bar served with decaf or regular coffee. They have vegan options and just such a friendly and warm and welcoming environment. The staff must have gotten tired of telling everyone the rules so many times, so they do it all with funny skits. And we were there 2 nights, and the skits were new and different every night. So that's how they tell you that dinner's at 6, that lights are out at 9, when you have to get up and how to fold your blankets and put them back the way they were on the bed, and even to make sure that you carry out all your trash. After dinner, there's a cupboard with games, there's a bookshelf with books you can borrow, and people just hang out, chat, play cards, or just go to bed early. And then lights out at 9. In the morning, they wake you up at 6:30. I know that sounds early, but there's no shades on the windows. You're on top of the mountain, and it feels very natural to wake up at that time. And on top of that, they wake you up by singing in the hallways. Here comes the sun. At 7 o'clock, breakfast is served. Same thing, family style, big tables, lots of people, and lots of food. Both days they had oatmeal, eggs, bacon or sausage, some kind of meat. They always had a vegan option and lots of coffee. In the morning during breakfast, they'll get a radio call down from the peak of Mount Washington with the current weather conditions. And one of the hut staff will come out to the whole breakfast group and read out the conditions at the peak and in the valley. They also write out all the details on a sheet of paper and hang that on a clipboard on the edge of the dining room. There's very little cell service there, so that's probably the most reliable way to get good, accurate weather information to all the guests. And weather's important up there. It's changing all the time. The second morning we were there, they mentioned gusts of up to 70 miles an hour and wind chills of 30 degrees at the peak. And this was in the middle of July. From there, the main thing you want to do is go hiking. It's about 1.5 miles to the peak of Mount Washington. We did that. It was super fun. Just such an amazing experience. And then there's a couple of mile loop over the top of Mount Monroe, which was also just gorgeous views. I think it depends on the weather. We were able to see from Mount Monroe. When we were at Mount Washington, it was totally socked in. This hut is also on the AT, so thru hikers are coming through, and they have a cool program where up to 4 AT thru hikers can do a work for food and stay program. So they put in a few hours of work helping with dishes, and they get a warm meal and a place to stay. So that's also kind of fun because you get to talk to all these different people. We talked to thru hikers and found out what that experience was like. There were extended families, one group of a couple of young men who were taking their 70-year-old grandfather on the trail. Everybody was just happy to be there and happy to share about their experience. We stayed 2 nights, and so we did the hike up the Ammonoosuc Trail, spent the night at the Lakes of the Clouds hut. The next day we went up to the peak of Mount Washington, did a little tour over the top of Mount Monroe, had another night at the Lakes of the Clouds hut, and the next morning, after breakfast and after we waited out some of the worst weather, we hiked back down the Ammonoosuc Ravine Trail. It was just as beautiful on the way down, lots of waterfalls, and by then the sun had come out, it was gorgeous out, and we stopped in a little pool in the river and we took a dip. I say a dip, we didn't really swim, it was pretty cold. It was a short dip, but it was so refreshing and such a great way to end that trip. Do you have questions about the AMC hut system, the Lakes of the Clouds hut, the hike in or out? I am by no means an expert. This was my first time there since I was about 5 years old, and I am definitely not an official representative, but I'd love to hear if you've been to the huts or if you have questions about what our experience was like. I loved going there, and I'm so happy I could share this experience with you.